I'm delighted to be joined by Niall Mitchell of the Downs ahead of the 2022 AIB Leinster GA Senior Football Championship final, which takes place this weekend at Croke Park, facing off against Kilmacud Crokes of Dublin. The AIB GA All-Ireland Club Championships features some of the #toughest players from communities all across Ireland. It's these very communities that the players represent that make the AIB GA All-Ireland Club Championships unique. Now in its 32nd year supporting the club championships, AIB is extremely proud to once again celebrate the communities that play such a role in sustaining our games. Niall, I suppose you're more known as a hurler with Clonkill and obviously with Westmeath as well, but it must be brilliant representing the Downs this weekend in a Leinster final.
Yeah, it's very special. Something as I said, I didn't probably think would happen maybe this quick. I thought probably that I would be with Clonkill maybe at this stage, to be honest, more so than the Downs. I suppose in my stage, my career, we have a very young team with the Downs. So to get to the Leinster final the first year that we got out of Westmeath is very special, and I think something to be very proud of and take a lot of confidence from. Yeah.
What's your season been like? Because I know that you had that county final with Clonkill that you lost to Castletown Gagan, and then a week later you turn around and I believe you scored 1-1 in that final against St. Lomans, and from then on you kicked on and culminating in that Rat-Oat game, which was an absolute classic to watch. It's been some journey.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, I think with the way the season has been this year, like previously, I would have finished up Westmeath and we would have been in the thick of the action with the Downs, which wasn't really good for the likes of myself and Dara because we hadn't played football, in so long. And it would have been, I suppose, skill-wise, it would have been quite difficult to get up to the pace of things. But with this year, we had maybe a month or two, I think, because Westmeath went quite far with the Tailteann Cup being on. So I suppose that was a key thing, I suppose, with regards personally how I've played anyway, because, I had that couple of weeks practice, to get up to speed of things. Getting to, I suppose, the quarter final against RD. It's funny, we kind of prepare for that game as I think that was kind of the key kind of turning point with us. We prepared for that game nearly in more detail than a county final or a really important semi-final or even the Rat-Oat game for that matter. We expected a really, really tough game out of RD. It's funny, we would have played I think St. Martin's from Louth, another team from Louth last year in a challenge game, and they bet us by maybe 20 points in the challenge game. And then seeing RD beat them in the semi-final, it kind of was like, wow, we need to perform here or we're going to be gone out of this Leinster Championship. So we did put a lot of effort into that, both on and off the field, and we performed really well that day in Cusack Park, and then that got us obviously to Rat-Oat in Croke Park. Then two new teams, anything can happen, and I think that's really kind of that explained the game. Anything can happen. We were home and hosed, and I suppose an accumulation of a couple of things, sending off and maybe just taking our eye off the ball, put us in, hot water, and we were incredibly lucky then to get out there with a win,
And when that last free was being stood over around the 45 at the sideline, a chance for Rat-Oat to equalise, what were you thinking? What were you like?
Yeah. It's not something Lara Wall, our manager, would have, ever mentioned. He was with Kells, I think, for like 6 or 7 years, and Rat-Oat, I suppose, broke his heart in a county final, getting a really late goal, and just following the GA and having a couple of friends in Meath, they made me kind of well aware of what happened back then in that final. So to be honest, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh no, Rat-Oat aren't going to do this again to Lar, but yeah, it was an incredibly tough free, obviously, for them to score, and I think it was going over the bar or over the score, or the whistle was being blown. So I think he had to take it to go for the goal. I think it was about 6 minutes played at that stage. So once I seen it go across the goals and wide, I kind of had obviously a great feeling of relief, and seeing the guys, I suppose, jump around in front of me as well. Kind of knew that the game was over, and it's just pure relief. I think over the 60 minutes we were definitely the better team and deserved to win, but I suppose you don't always get that with sport. The best team can lose. So I think it was yeah, just a huge moment of relief, to be honest.
And Clonkill, where you hurl, and the Downs, they're not sister clubs per se. Like, is there much geographical distance between the two?
They're a nice bit away, to be honest. Like they're a decent amount away. It's not like, they're like they're, I don't know exactly how long, but I think it's just something going down through the years, to be honest. Where if you play football in the Downs, you're probably going to be playing with hurling with Clonkill and vice versa. It's just something I'd imagine going through the years, where there's been that massive link, and it's just stayed. It's stayed there, Schools, primary schools definitely probably has something to do with it as well. The schools are quite linked. So yeah, there is an understanding there that, I suppose, unless your family maybe have played with other clubs, you probably will play hurling with one and football with the other. So yeah.
Is there different home grounds for the two, and how?
There is,
how
yeah. To be fair to them, like, as much they feed off each other, the facilities both of them have are really, really. You'd imagine that maybe one might be really good and one might be poor, or two of them might be average, but the facilities both clubs have are, second to none, especially, in the Downs. The 3 or 4 pitches, floodlit stadium there with 500 or 600 seats. It's something really to be very proud of, and I think the officials in the club can be very, very proud of that. And I think it kind of tells, our success at underage the last couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the success we've had in underage, our facilities, and now bringing that success to senior level. And of course, getting to Leinster final, it's something really, really that the club can be very proud of, and can, I suppose, look at and say, wow, we've done this,
How long would it take you to drive from one home ground to the other?
About I'd say less than 10 minutes, but it's still 10 minutes.
Okay. So you're pretty close together.
Yeah, close enough, I suppose. Yeah.
Another question I wanted to ask you then was about your hurling career, and like, I'd say people in general link you far more with the hurling than they do with the football. What's it been like this past year or so? I mean, if you go back to early in the league, you lost to Down, I think, at home, and Joe Fortune, your manager, spoke afterwards about how there had been a bit of a players meeting about it, and people were wondering where you're going. And you really turned it around since, though.
Yeah, we turned it around. Yeah, I suppose, like, you even see it now, like in Division 1, like, the top teams, I must say, like, teams can be, if you're not tuned in 100%, anyone can turn you off in your day. And it's the same with, the likes of maybe Limerick playing, Dublin, or that. If they're not tuned in, or Wexford maybe playing, Limerick, if they're not tuned in, they're going to be bet, you're going to be bet on your day. So I think maybe that day we took a small bit for granted. And that's no disrespect to Down. They're improving year on year. But yeah, it was really no need to panic. We were still in the league, we were still in our own position to get promoted. And then when it came to the league final, I suppose we performed quite well, and bet Down on the second day. Yeah, there's no question, I suppose, of talent in Westmeath when it comes to hurling. I just think it's probably need to be a bit more confident in ourselves. And I've often said it that this year, near the end of the year, we got a couple of injuries back. We performed well against Wexford, got a draw, which was kind of a surprise result, obviously, to everyone, and beating Loughlin by a good margin. We were kind of disappointed that our year ended then, but obviously that's our 5 games up and we were knocked out. That's just the way it goes. But we were kind of disappointed that we maybe didn't have Dublin after that, just the way the fixtures worked out. So yeah, it's been a crazy year, and a lot of guys, would you'd play your county hurling, you obviously go back in with your club. But I'm very lucky, I suppose, that I play with 2 clubs in the Downs that we are quite successful, and we've most years I've played now, I've either picked up a hurling medal or a football medal at a county level. So it has its negatives. Obviously, you don't get to go away, you don't get a holiday or anything like that. And once this year is over with the Downs now, please God, we're successful at the weekend. It's going to go into the new year, and I'll have no break in 2022. But I think, you can only take that as a positive. You can always go away and go on these holidays and stuff like that, but you don't get the Leinster finals, and you don't get to be an inter-county player and get the whole, friendships and camaraderie of it all without making sacrifices. So, yeah.
Because I saw a good few of your games this year. I saw the Dublin one, and after about an hour, I think it was very, very close, and they just pulled away in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, like everyone celebrated your victory over Wexford, and brilliant to do what you did against Laois as well to stay up. But it was against the two teams that are probably at the latter end of the championships more often. Kilkenny put up 5-23, Galway 3-36. Like, when you're out in the field, what is it with the difference with those teams? Like, they obviously have the shooters, I suppose, more so than Wexford and Dublin. What is it that separates them or makes them so difficult for you?
Yeah, it's weird, and I think it is a mindset thing because like Wexford, Dublin, obviously Laois and Antrim, and even Kilkenny. It really is a mindset thing. I think we played Galway down in Galway, and to say for me to say we were confident of whatever causing an upset, or even being a point or two, 3 points down the last couple of minutes would be a lie. I knew it was going to be a massive battle. So, I think it really is a mindset thing. While with regards in Mullingar, Kenny, we were going quite well. We got a man sent off the last couple of minutes, and then they got obviously a good few goals. And then Dublin and Wexford, I was incredibly confident going into them games. I'm not sure if it was because it was in Mullingar, but it's funny, it's just, I think it is a mindset thing. And another thing also as well, we can't be down 2 or 3 starting players, especially central men as well. While, you look at, Kilkenny and Galway, they might perform being down 1 or 2 men against us because there's guys there chomping at the bit to get in, to get on match day panels, to get started. And so, we have to have our full, 25 available, our 15 starters, our 5 or 6 main men coming on off the bench, and then the rest of the guys pushing them as well. So it's hard to put, really, a finger on, what is the difference. I think, for years we've been playing half and half. We've kind of been stuck in the middle of maybe playing Division 2 hurling, then go and play Leinster Championship, or play in Division 1 and then go down to John McDonough. I think, we have to be in this Division 1 and Leinster Championship for a number of years for us to get like Dublin, where they're competing, and getting the full respect of teams. I think Laois obviously were there for a good while. They were, Division 1 and Leinster Championship. I suppose it got them, fairly far, as in, they were, I suppose, a very respected team, and I suppose, improved overall. And you can see their underage is probably better than Westmeath at the minute. So I think that's just something we just have to, continue doing. It's kind of our goal, I suppose, to win Leinster Championship or Division 1 is going to be very, very difficult. So I suppose just for my career is to play at that top level, week in, week out, year by year, and then when my time is done, that I pass on the jersey to a younger guy, and I suppose that might be, hopefully by then, they're in a position to compete,
Yeah, so I suppose you got a taste of Croke Park's success as well when you played that Joe McDonough final against Kerry at the end of 2021. You scored 1-4 that day. I was just double checking on my match report for the Star. I gave you a man of the match and everything. That must have been a great thrill that day, and give you a taste of what it could be like to win at Croke Park.
It was, yeah. It was very special, I suppose, as well. The fact that, that competition came in a number of years ago now, and when it did, when the GA launched it, we would have been very confident to, get out at the first year. I think Carlow West first year, Laois West then the second year, and I think it was maybe the third or maybe the fourth year that we won it. So to say, for me to say that, we should be playing Leinster Championship, it took us a number of years to win us that championship. So it was special, to get that winning feeling as well. As I said, we were probably disappointed we didn't win it earlier, and maybe be more on our journey of a Leinster Championship and Division 1 team. But that's just the way it goes. to play in Croke, I didn't really pass much remarks on, I suppose, when we came to the Downs. It was kind of a new experience. Football, obviously, it's another different sport, and it was under lights, and it's winter football, I suppose, at the minute, which is quite different to summer football or summer hurling. So it was quite a new experience for me as well. To say that I wasn't nervous or anything like that, I think of course I was nervous going into it. So yeah, I did have obviously I've played in Croke Park a couple of times and got success, but yeah, it was a new experience for me too. So I'm just glad that that's over now, to be honest. I'd like to think that whole Croke Park, that's behind us now, that we can go out at the weekend and play as if it's in Cusack Park. I think it is, to be honest. I think we're just going to treat it as another game.
But Kilmacud Crokes, they are very used to playing there. They're obviously that team, have so much quality. Shane Walsh, they don't even have Mannion, and they're still getting to Leinster finals and All-Ireland finals. And obviously this is like a huge day for Crokes because they have the hurlers there as well. So I'd say you very much want to be party poopers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's an incredible achievement for their club. I know obviously they have a massive membership base, and to see, I suppose, very few dual players on both just goes to show the scale of their club. Yeah, we're obviously looking forward to the game, and we're definitely hoping that we can cause an upset. It's, as I said, it's the second game now, so it's probably going to be under lights again. Something probably I would have rather during the day. I don't really mind it being the first or second game, but probably would have rather it during the day. But the fact, thinking about, I'm a dual player as well, and I think it's changed because of their dual player. If I was in his situation, I would be, looking to do whatever it is to, I suppose, have involved, prepare best for both games and have as much involvement in both. So to be honest, I don't think we can complain too much. But yeah, it's going to be a very special day for their club. Very special for ours. Ballyhale Shamrocks are used to being there, but it's going to be special for them too. So yeah, it's unreal that you get to play in Croke Park, I suppose, with your club this time of year. We're really looking forward to the occasion. Yeah.
Can you talk to me about Luke Loughlin a little bit, because he's had a fair journey to get from, I suppose, years of hell is what I'm seeing in one headline here. But could you just talk about what he went through and how well he's playing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, Luke obviously is, he's our main man. He's an exceptional talent. He plays hurling as well, and he's some say in Westmeath that he's a better hurler than footballer. That's how good he is at both. It's hard to believe that he could be that good at both as well. Yeah, look, he's a special player for us. He was always our main man ever since he's been able to play senior football. He's been a main man for the Downs. It's only, I suppose, now that we've got that bit of success that people are probably, realising how good he is. But he's been scoring, I think he has 5 points in the last 4 or 5 championship games, which is an incredible statistic to think about. But he's been scoring, 8, 1, 5, 10 points in nearly every game for us the last couple of years. Yeah, to come, I suppose, from where he's come from, he's I said this before, he's changed and everything for the better. He's confident on the field, confident off the field. His physique, he's as fit as anyone, and as strong as.
For people who don't know, it was alcohol and drug addiction that he had.
Yeah.
And he's made a great recovery, and I'm sure there's no such thing as you're recovered. It's probably something that you have to keep on top of all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, and especially when you're winning. After the county final, obviously 17 years. Not winning one, being the captain and having a great final, you got 5 points in it. Of course, you get that urge, I'm sure he's thinking in the back of his head, geez, why couldn't this happen? Maybe, well, he's probably delighted it didn't happen maybe a couple of years ago. But yeah, I suppose Luke doesn't really, on the field, I suppose Luke doesn't really need to prove anything to us. We know how good he is. He's probably, I would call him in the last 3 or 4 years, he's definitely the best club footballer in Westmeath. Outperforming nearly all of his his county counterparts. It's just that we haven't got over the line. We haven't been able to, I suppose, back him up in the forward line. And I think that's another thing as well. He's our captain obviously this year. He's shown incredible leadership, and he's playing guys into the game. Playing guys into the game where he might have shooted before, and he's creating gaps for others. And he's just improved in every aspect, and it's great to see. And the world's his oyster now. To be honest, he's very young. Obviously, he's 27, so he has a lot more years ahead of him. His pace and his power will get him probably to, well into his late 30s. So I know from chatting to him that he's very enthusiastic and very keen on, achieving an awful lot more for the Downs, Westmeath, Clonkill. And as I said previously, he's a very smart lad as well. So, where he's going, it's very bright for his future on and off the field,
Yeah, because I saw an interview with him from September, and he said basically my addiction was something that could take me out of reality. I was ruining my life every time. It was like there was a big button on my chest, self-destruct, time and time again. And this was going on for 10 years. This time last year, a video went around of me asleep at the side of a train track. I was on a bender for 2 months. In the middle of that 2 months, I had 10 days in bed. Then I went drinking again and drugs, obviously, and another 5 days in bed. Like, could you see where he was at? And, like, did you understand? Like, do you think he'd come out of it?
I remember that exact time happening, and I have some good friends at Luke, but I have a good few friends that are very close to Luke, and they're very close to me also. So, I was aware at that time, and I kind of, everything you said there, I remember I could pinpoint exactly when that was, and I suppose what he was going through. I guess, for a couple of years he was in America as well, and I, obviously was home here, so that would have been a difficult time from away from home, and in a place like New York as well. It's not like Mullingar as well, so I suppose it's you're kind of anonymous out there. You can do whatever you want, but yeah, with regards, did I see it turning around for him? I always thought Luke would, land on his feet. He's a nice lad, and very good at sport and stuff like that. And as I said, he's smart, a very smart lad, and very smart lad too. So I think if he kept going the way he was going, he probably would have been, struggled to get back. He probably, identified his problem very, very at a great time. So I'm just delighted that he has. I always, as I said, I always would have thought that Luke would have landed on his feet, but only he knows, I suppose, the exact problems he was going through. I probably didn't think they were as severe as they were because I was young and maybe naive as well and stuff like that. So yeah, look, I suppose he, as I said, he identified his problems at a good age, not too old, and I can only see things, going forward, looking up for Luke. He's a great future ahead of him, and I think he's improved so much. It's incredible how much he's improved in a short space of time. Usually for something like this, it might take a year or two for someone, but in a number of months, he's transformed his confidence, his football, his physique, and everything. So yeah, he's a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah. Well, look, brilliant stuff, Niall. Pleasure chatting to you, and best of luck in the Leinster final.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Shane.
So that was Luke Loughlin. That was Niall Mitchell finishing up there talking about Luke Loughlin. So this weekend, if you're into your football or your coaching, and both codes do complement each other well, we've got a coaching clinic at the UCD, December 3rd. Ger Brennan, Paul Galvin and Stephen Poacher. You'll find a link